Alright, my friend asked me about Unraid or whatever, and I decided to make him a video about it. So, I'll play this thing that I made on my phone, and then I'll show the insides of it. Alright, so I think this is a 24 disc shelf. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 times 6, whatever that is. And so I've been putting, like this one here, I can put an SSD in this one. Get it all the way in. But I've also been putting in server hard drives. This one just happens to be a Seagate. Anyhow, I have the Permanent server here. It's two different models. This one had on the top here had a backup bay in the back, so I couldn't use the expansion slot to add the card to operate that. So what I ended up doing was I took this server and took the P410 card out, flipped it upside down, took the bracket off, and I put it in the slot, and then I used cardboard to keep pressure on the card so it wouldn't come out. And then originally I had this set up in RAID 5 configuration, 12 terabytes each, two of them. And I'll mention why I did that. And this one, I was making this as just a backup to this one for my Plex and various things. But this one, for whatever reason, when I put the parity drive on, it locks up again, IO error. The other thing I noticed too, if you run Unraid with the P410, if you take this drive out, say if you take this out and put it in this server, do something, take it back out, put it in this server, it changes the drive name. So the problem you have is if you basically, if this were to crash and you put in another controller card, it would recognize the drives, but you need the order for it to fire up. And when you put in the new configuration, you don't have it right, it'll erase all your data. So this setup here is not a viable solution. Now this one here, I originally had it 12 terabytes set up on here. One was a parity drive, the other one was my cache. And that was fun, and then finally I just migrated everything over there. And this is only my cache drive. I think that's a 3 gig drive. So on the back here, this cable here feeds my disk shelf. Now the only thing I can add, and I verified this disk shelf, I don't have the BIOS password for this disk shelf. So if I didn't have that cable on, it'll default into its, I forget what you call it, but this can actually do RAID 5 and all kinds of different things. Like I could have like a million configurations. But I could daisy chain this to another disk shelf, but I'm not doing it because I don't have a UPC power backup. So, yeah. Alright, so flop over here a little bit. I just got it booted up. I had it off when I made that video and I just got it up. So since he wanted to take a look at it. So this will show all my drives on the right, and it also uses the smart information from the drives. So if there's any issues, these will change colors. You can also set this up to spin drives down, which Plex is not a good idea. I had it turned on and it corrupted my Plex database. So I was a little sad on that. So if you want any video streaming, I do not recommend turning it on. But if you're storing information, you can go ahead and do that. If it's not like a SQL database or whatever. And then it'll show you the CPUs, the loads on them, and it'll show you the RAM over here. So, and if you go in here to this screen, you know, you can, like I got 2 parity drives, and the nice thing about this is, if I want to shrink this down, right now I got 19 drives in here. All I gotta do is this bottom drive, I just move all the data off that drive onto the other disks, and what you do is you run a new configuration. You take a picture of all these drives in their various orders, and when you do the new configuration, you don't add this 19, and when you execute it, it'll reset the RAID up without the disk. So literally you can expand it and you can shrink it if you want to. So that's the cool thing. I don't know how the parity works on this, but that's how it works. So I can also mount USB drives to this, like Windows drives, whatever. And then down here, you know, the bottom part is where the cache drives are. So if you have a bunch of intensive Dockers or VMs, it'll run off the cache drive. I had at the house the security system tied into this. I had 3 rTorrent virtual machines, and it just bogged down, like it just did. So when I remember the video I made you earlier where I had the 2 12s, one was a parity, one was a cache, that's what I was using it for. So my security cameras was on the cache drive, and after the time, I think it was like an hour, I can't remember how I had it set up, it would upload it to the array. Otherwise, all the VMs on the array would just dog. It wouldn't do anything. So then you get your plugins or whatever, which is like accessories and different tools. You get that from the App Store. But this is my Dockers. So this is like Pi-hole, this is AdGuard, and the nice thing is, one thing they don't tell you when you set these up, it makes it, well, I mean, they tell you to an extent, but it hides everything inside an internal network. And I just discovered within the last few months, because you only have so many ports available, it's like Green Acres with the ports, that you can actually just assign it an IP address. So if you go down here, go down to network type, go to custom, type in your IP address, and then go on your router and make a static. It's not a DHCP, but as long as you make a static of that address, well, now you virtually have unlimited ports on the server because your Dockers are using their own IP address. So like here's agent DVR, you know, whatnot. And I also have this backing up to Backblaze. And also every time my server starts, it's backing up my entire server configuration to the cloud to Mega. So, and then like I said, you can also specify the cores. So if you go down into the settings and the CPUs, you can specify which core or whatever for your VMs and your Dockers. So up here's the VMs and Dockers down here. You can also isolate, so nothing else. So if you want to dedicate a few CPUs to the server itself, There you go. And then this is the App Store. And this is Docker, whatever. So whatever you want. They got, you know, a whole list of things here. One thing I do have, I have 2 different internet sources in my house. They have a primary and a backup. You can assign hardware to a virtual machine. So, the other network card in my machine is hard-coded to a VM. So whenever I run it, it shoots off to my parents' house through their internet. So it doesn't work on the Dockers, but it does on virtual machines. If you're running a server or whatever, there you go. You can pass hardware like GPUs to a VM machine, sound cards, all kinds of sort. I think you can even do USB devices. It just depends on how it's done. So it also it does work with APC power supplies and everything else. So it's got a built-in FTP server, but every time I shut it off, it's disabled, and I gotta re-enable it every time. The other thing it's got NFS. You got Samba for Windows. You can also hook up Apple connectivity, their file share service, which I can't remember how to do it. I also got iSCSI, which is, I made a hard drive on my PC, which looks like, you know, it goes to the server. So anything I want, like a permanent thing, there you go. So you got iSCSI server, and you also have like the other one, the client. The newer versions have a VPN manager, but I never actually set it. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know you can set this up to work on a VPN. So hopefully that was enough information. And yeah. So peace.